This has been more exhausting than I thought.
There
Okay.
it is.
Is it good?
Yeah.
But is that one, don't make it louder because there'll be an echo. Is that one for, you looked at Sarah Francis, right?
Yes, this is you.
Okay. Sorry. So what happened is that, you have to, how do we get you in this?
Oh,
there we
this
go.
camera.
So what happened is I thought I could go live on three accounts at once, but I have to upgrade to do that. And I didn't want to upgrade. So here we are. I have 3 different devices, and I'm just going to film this real quick before we jump into the live stream. So we have our YouTube live going on there. I don't even know if it's working.
Yeah, Instagram. And then Facebook live.
And what an adventure has this been. And I'm just going to check and see if we're actually live on YouTube or if this whole setup was. I think we are. It says we're live.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're live. Great. Amazing. Well, this live stream initially was for Kickstarter backers. Hi, Saeed. I totally canceled your call.
Yeah, sorry, Saeed, a bit busy.
if you couldn't tell. So if you'd like to join us, this was initially going to be for Kickstarter backers only who supported She Whispered Through the Woods. Can you actually, in my endeavor to set this up, I forgot to grab one of the books. Can you grab that one over there?
Forgot to grab one of the books.
I forgot to grab one of the books. But thanks, Saeed. Much appreciated. So this initially was for Kickstarter backers who supported She Whispered Through the Woods in all of its stages. It is my first ever paranormal romance. It is book 1 of a trilogy, and it releases next week on May 14th. So Or and I are here to kind of give a little bit of a pre-launch fun tidbit. It was supposed to be an exclusive Q&A for Kickstarter backers, but I only had 1 or 2 RSVPs because May is a very, very, very busy month for everyone with the end of school. A lot of my Kickstarter backers were teachers and moms, so we decided to open it up to all of my channels, Instagram being the largest, and whomever is able to attend. So we're going to go through a little bit of a Q&A session between the 2 of us, because if you did not know, the main character on the front really looks kind of familiar. I wonder why he looks so familiar. This story started as more of a short story and then all of a sudden became a trilogy. And it's something that I didn't intend to publish. It was only supposed to be a gift. And then these 2 characters became 2 people of their own entirely. So the concept of the story is Second hears a girl's voice at an all-boys camp, and he feels like he's being watched, he's being followed, and it turns out that there is a ghost haunting the woods, and he feels like it is his job to send her home. However, he has to take care of 12 boys hiking 1 week in the woods, and something bad is going to happen despite his choice. So he is working through some things from his past and is trying to work with these boys and keep them from having a future like his past. So we're going to go through a couple different categories. The first one's going to be culture. Next, we're going to talk about some of the bromance in the book because it is at an all-boys camp. While there is some romance between Captain Second, they call themselves captains, and the ghost girl. We're going to talk more about, those campers and those relationships because some of my early readers have mentioned how much they love those relationships between the captains and the cubs, which is what the campers are called. And then we're going to talk about, of course, the romance, what's coming up next for She Whispered Through the Woods, and then the Q&A with some of the questions that Kickstarter backers have messaged.
Luigi, yes, there is bromance in
There's
this book.
lots of good bromance in this book. Hello, Emma. Thank you for joining. Emma was one of my Kickstarter backers and just left a very heartfelt review of She Whispered Through the Woods. So I'm very excited for you to be here, Emma. So we're going to talk first about the culture. And one of the things I think that we want to talk about is how everything is backwards at Camp Southpaw. And I think you brought this up, right?
Yes. That was like one of the first things I realized when I read your book without knowing any form of context, is that within the camp that this is taking place at Camp Southpaw, everything is backwards, where like breakfast is for dinner, dinner is for breakfast. Instead of being called first names, everyone's called by their last name, and a lot of other things as well. So I wanted to ask Sarah, why did you make everything backwards at Camp Southpaw?
It actually started as a fellow lefty. Four is
here as well.
4 is actually a lefty. Second is a righty because all of the other campers are lefties. And the reason why it started as everything is backwards at Camp Southpaw, because the way the book was supposed to open actually was the fact that second hears a girl's voice at an all boys camp. And that was like the whole backwards notion that started it. And it kind of evolved a little bit more from there. And the reason why it's called Southpaw is because in fighting, when you stand Southpaw, you stand in the lefty position. And that's kind of backwards from everything you do. Or it's a nicer way of saying like goofy than like if you were a snowboarder. Like the lefties, it's called the goofy position. Yeah. Whatever the other one is. But it really fit because it was wilderness camp, Southpaw, paw, bear paw. And it just made it a little bit more fun and somewhat of a camp culture because every camp has their quirk. And I thought that was a perfect quirk for Camp Southpaw. Yes, Emma 4 is definitely representing. And we have Angela over there hopping in real quick to yell. So stoked for this launch. Thank you, Emma. Thank you. Angela. Sorry, I'm mixing up the two. Emma, I don't know if you heard before, but I have 3 live streams set up right now because I didn't pay for the subscription for StreamYard to do all of the accounts. So that I'll send you a photo of my setup later, but that's what we're here for right now. We kind of covered all those other ones. So the history of Southpaw, I guess, really the camp itself was inspired by For's camp that he went to. And initially I actually had opened, like when I was doing the world building for the camp, I don't know if I told you this because you were away. He was away at this camp when I was writing about the Southpaw camp. I had opened the maps of the 2 different locations for his camp, and that's what inspired, where the boys slept, what they did, their specific, like, capture the flag locations and all of those other elements. So that really was the key kind of factor for what Southpaw was. And the history of Southpaw is very similar, growing up boys in formation, faith, and just helping them to become men in the wilderness so that when they go out into the world, they could be better examples for other boys. So that was really the big thing.
Thank you for that answer.
Did you have any more questions about the culture? Anything that you thought, like when you looked at it, and was like, either that looked like, Deerfoot where you went, or this is really weird. This never would have happened at camp. It's clearly because a woman was writing this book. Because my idea of summer camp was completely different than what you experienced.
If anything different, other than like the main thing of everything backwards, a lot of similarities. I think the one thing that probably didn't happen as often was pranks. Pranks would definitely not slide at the camp that I worked at, especially one of the pranks that's done within She Whispered. Mm-hmm. That would be like the one main thing. I mean, the pranks did happen, but not to that extent. Like probably like a prank that I could think of was like middle of the night where one cabin runs into the other cabin with pills and just starts a pillow fight in the middle of the night.
That's fun.
So that was that one that happened. Well, that's all I can think of.
That sounds cool though. A pillow fight. So DIY, multiple streaming. Oh, thank you, Angela. And Emma, I don't know if I see your questions in the little box because I'm afraid to X out of this to go into if you're leaving them in the sticker.
Like
oh wait, what?
Yeah, it's like a little question.
No, yeah. Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Look at that. Emma, that's amazing. Thank you for putting the questions in the question box because I didn't know that existed. I can't put plastic flamingos across the entire college campus overnight. That is the most iconic thing. My side tangent, my grandfather was born and lived in Miami for a lot of his life, and he hates flamingos, especially the plastic ones because everyone always had them on their lawn. It was just like a grandpa quirk grandpas have, and that reminded me of him so much because that's something I would have done to like just tease him. So I think that's very amazing. I love that so much. All right. So now I have some questions for 4, because now we're jumping into the bromance section of our Q&A. Yes, Grandpa Quirks for the win, Emma. We love them. We need more Grandpa Quirks in our main characters. Oh, my charger came undone. Sorry, my MacBook's to die. So from your perspective, with, I know, reading this book written by me and like different culture, different perspective, like it's a romance book, not something that you would normally read. Why do you?
That is true.
Yes, not really taking the romance books off my shelf. But why do you think it's important to have the representation of healthy male friendships in literature, especially from your perspective, like working with kids and especially young boys? Like, one, is it important to have that healthy representation? And 2, like, why?
So I would answer this question. So, like why is it important to have these bromances? I think it's important in a sense to show like how between like men and between boys that it is okay in cases to be vulnerable. Where these all boys camps, from my experience too, where that vulnerability it is important, especially for the relationship between the counselors, which you'll see in She Whispered, and also from my experience, where you have to be, in sync with your with the other counselors that you work with to make sure that you're doing okay, that your co is doing okay. Also with the campers, and you'll see with the boys too, is that this sense of accountability is also emphasized. They're there for each other. You want to make sure that they're okay at camp and that they'll be okay after camp as well. And also, I think to be emphasized in literature, especially I feel like in this day and age, without the bromance being taken too far, and to understand, there is that point where there is that sense of love as friends, that friendship love, but it's not I would say going to like like more like a passion or like erotic kind of love. Is to like understand too, especially with the relationship that Second has with his co Anderson and the boys that will be working with. It's just he's there to care for them as their in a sense their guardian, and especially too with his co Anderson. So something that you see throughout the book.
I love that word. Those 2 words that you said that were really impactful was accountability and guardianship, because I think that is the perfect word to describe how Second feels about these boys. Like, he's acting as their dad, basically, in this whole story. And I think that's one of the reasons why these early readers have really grown for that love and seen that bond between Second and the boys, is because he does feel that responsibility for them in that guardianship. And he wants to make sure that they're okay. And him trying to win these boys over while also trying to save this ghost that he's grown to trust with his heart. And he falls head over heels with first, by the way. He falls first. Is just the dynamic between them is so incredible to see and to hear your experience too. And also to that accountability piece is something that Second in this book really strives for, but falls short. And that's one of his shortcomings, is that he doesn't trust anyone with his accountability needs. Yet he asks that of the boys. And I think that's just kind of something that people need to overcome, us as humans, like having that vulnerability and not being afraid to, tell people, hey, we're struggling with this. Like, can you help me with it?
Yeah. And it's definitely important too, because like that's something I was in a sense relate to a Second. Like, it's hard getting over that vulnerability, especially for guys that aren't used to that level of vulnerability. Even campers feel like, wow, this is like, in a sense, can be overwhelming for some people. So giving that understanding of like, why it's important, especially for young boys and for men to be vulnerable in a sense with, you could say, their friends and family as well.
Absolutely. And Emma said yes, and he's trying to do it while struggling to see his own value, and that feels so real. A reminder that parents and mentors can be broken and still there for those they care for. Yes, Emma, that is a beautiful way to put it, because we are all broken people, but we all strive to pick up the pieces of other broken people and put them back together. And just to remember that even our broken pieces still have worth. And there's a phrase that is when I think it's a Japanese art, when you put the pieces back together, but you put them back together with like liquid gold, and it in fact increases the value. So that broken person overcoming those struggles and those trials that they have, and also putting other people to get back together with that gold, just increases everyone's value. And everyone should know that all of our broken pieces are meant to, they are not worthless. That's a beautiful way to put it, Emma. Thank you. Let's get away from the sad bits, because we're talking about fun book. So this book obviously has some deep moments in it. While it is categorized as a slow burn romance, because the story is based off of Second trying to save this ghost girl, but it really has a heavy subplot of him taking care of his campers. And sometimes I feel like that's even like just as important as what he does for Ghost Girl, and it really all connects. So let's go to the more lighter, more fun stuff of the campers. So when you read She Whispered Through the Woods, which camper relationship did you relate to the most? Like which camper had his special relationship with Second that you thought either that was a kid that I had in camp, or that's a kid I have like as a student, and like this is like, which one was your favorite? I guess which camper was your favorite? I think
the most iconic camper that and that those that have pre-read or have currently read know, it's got to be Huerta. And you'll see why when you read this book. And I think too, like the passion for his storytelling, which you'll see within the book, is something that I've had campers do, especially when we do like cabin games. I'm trying to blank on a couple. It's just some main characters that I know. There's one I can kind of sense familiarity to with, like, Glover, where he's very preserved, and then he opens up over time too, and that connection, which takes time as well. So I think Emma said something about Glover too. So so I would say the sense of familiarity with campers like that. Debbie Blake was definitely some nostalgia, I could say. But like those the two main ones. It's been a while since I read it.
Okay, there's 12 of them. I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
I am notorious for writing casts, but at least with this one, I split them up. So Second has to deal with 6 campers, and then his co-captain Anderson has to deal with the other 6. So there are 12 names, but you only pay attention to like 6 of them. Go ahead.
Well, I can say, because it's split up, because in Second's cabin he has 6, and his Anderson has 6, so that's why it's the 12. But he has his 6 that he focuses on, and Anderson has his 6 that he focuses on.
Yes, the culture is that there are 6 packs, but within those packs are 12 campers with 2 counselors. So in order to distribute responsibilities and make sure all these kids are taken care of, it's like a 6-to-1 ratio. So Anderson deals with half, and Second deals with half, but they do everything together as one pack. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Amazing.
Because at the camp that I worked at, so because there's some cabins that are called brother cabins, so one cabin would have a counselor and 5 kids, and the other cabin would have a counselor and 5 kids, and then it would be like combined together to be like one big cabin. So then they would have meals together. Their first week hike would be together. And stuff like that. So
I definitely didn't steal everything from this camp, I promise. It's just
a lot of inspiration.
Very, very similar. Very inspired. Don't let Chief Craig come and get me. Or if you will, come sponsor my book and give it to all the boys at camp. Give it to all the boys at camp. I did visit Deerfoot, his camp, and I took a lot of B-roll content when I was there. And it was like just kind of cool to see, one, where he's been for the past couple of years working at this camp, and then 2, like the location of the inspiration of this book. And if you look in the back, if you get any print copies, because I left these special goodies in for anyone, there is a Camp Southpaw map drawn by yours truly. Oh, people on Facebook, because it's so far away, you can't really see it. But just buy the book and you'll see it. But yeah, so this was also inspired by Camp Deerfoot, but with the Southpaw twist of the location, the mountains at its back, you'll be able to see Mount Dunwanago, which is the highest peak in Vermont. Well, Vermont. Fake Vermont. It's the highest peak in fake Vermont. Yes, I loved all the goodies in the back. Thank you, Emma. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And there's also a sticky bun recipe, which I have made. I promise I made it. I didn't just put it in there without testing it.
She was very excited when she made this recipe.
So well, because I'm terrible at baking. I was gonna thought I was gonna leave something out. But Chef Jeff is the one who is the sticky bun connoisseur, and Second's favorite food are sticky buns. And he claims that if like the camp needed money, they could just open a shop just for sticky buns and be financially stable for 3 years. That's like a quote in his line.
Yeah.
Last question about bromance. If you could have the backstory of any other character other than Ghost Girl, who would it be?
That's a good question. Definitely more about the director.
Really?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's important too for someone who's in charge of the camp and they have a responsibility. Know their relationship with the camp and their relationship. Like did they grow up going to this camp, and then how did they kind of rise up in the ranks? So that's maybe something a little bit more about that. From like one of the side characters don't really hear about, but one of the characters I would say more experienced. I think, as Emma also said, as she joins in participating in this Q&A.
Favorite person on this live stream.
So,
especially because I think you're the only one on the Instagram live stream.
Yeah, people have been going back and forth. But
Awesome.
I'll also say, too, definitely Huerta from one specific moment.
Ooh, what was it?
Where it's like he's in the middle of the story, gets cut off, and he kind of almost shuts down.
Oh,
so seeing the background,
moment.
what caused that reaction from Huerta.
Oh, I know Huerta.
So there's that, and then obviously more of Glover too.
Yes.
He's plays a very key role within the story.
Yes.
As you will read.
Yeah.
On May 14th, or getting it then.
May 14th, pre-order now to get it. Hopefully on that same day. I'm gonna just keep putting yes, Huerta and Bancroft. Bancroft is okay. I felt that moment in my gut, right? Because Huerta does have so much more to his character, and Huerta is probably one of the only campers that is going to appear in every spin-off book that I write, and he somehow is going to save the day all the time. I don't know how it's going to work from a writing perspective, but it just will, I promise. And Emma, I have a fun fact about Bancroft for you, and one that I don't think know. Bancroft is actually a NASA engineer.
Oh, no, you told me that.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you did tell me that.
Okay. Bancroft is an engineer, which makes sense for his puzzle cube, and I have the cutest little romance story for him. It's going to be a workplace romance. It has to take place way after the trilogy completes, because She Whispered Through the Ones is book 1 of a trilogy. Yes, space. Space. It is, and I know you love space. That's why you're going to love this story with Bancroft and his little girlfriend that he has no idea wants to be his girlfriend. It's a whole it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I've been waiting to write these spinoffs since I conceived the thought, but I have to finish the trilogy. Book 2 is technically completed, but I'm adding more so that you don't be left on another cliffhanger, because that was really mean of me, and I'm so sorry.
That was mean. Yeah.
I know Jen Woodrum is very upset with me. She made a whole reel about it, but
that was funny.
That was so good. Thank you, Erin. I love the hardcover too. Hold on, let me show you guys the dust jacket, or the case laminate, designed by Irene Chow.
Drum roll.
Ta-da! It's just.
That's your Facebook stream too.
On the Facebook stream. It's just so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, I know, Erin. I'm so excited too. That's what I'm gonna be finishing on our writing retreat. And another fun fact yes. Another fun fact is that there is a prequel for this whole trilogy out there right now in the Chaos and Curses anthology, which I will hopefully be giving out as a gift once our contract is up, because the ghost story that Sparks tells is kind of a different version of what actually happened, because it is a real story. And then this prequel tells you the real story of this ghost in that sense. But I'm not going to give any more spoilers. but it felt very much like a New Girl season ending with all the chaos and then cliffhanger. I will happily take that. I will happily to say that the ending felt like a New Girl season ending. Can I add that as a comp? Does that work, Emma? Can I say it's a New Girl season ending comp as the last like timestamps of this book? I will absolutely take that. Okay. Now we're off of absolutely yes. Thank you. I have Emma Hill's approval. I don't need anyone else's approval, except maybe Erin, if she says it's okay too. But all right. So romance, the romance in the book.
Is it my turn to ask you questions?
Yes, you can ask me.
Oh, brother, no. So the main romance, obviously that we see, is between Second and this our one other main character, Gigi, also known as Ghost Girl. So Sarah, who is this Ghost Girl?
I can't tell you that.
That doesn't help.
Spoiler.
Obviously, you can't say like who it is, but like how does she like appear? Like
Okay. So
like just any like little snippets of
Ghost Girl.
Yes.
It's all very swoon worthy. So Ghost Girl is a summer camp ghost story come to life. So how it comes about, and this is not too much of a spoiler, is that one of the counselors, his name is Sparks, is retelling this ghost story that he heard from his family. And this happens to coincide with the same time our main character, Second, hears this voice calling to him from the woods. Just, I've been waiting, over and over and over again. He thinks it's in his dreams. He thinks he's just going nuts. He thinks it's like a memory of his little sister from the first time he went to camp. And then all of a sudden, like, he hears it and he sees like these embers into the woods, just like igniting a dark wood that shouldn't be like as bright as sunshine in the nighttime. And he stumbles upon her when they're playing a pack v pack, capture the flag. And he's in the woods and he thinks it's like a bucket of water balloons. And then he sees this ghost sitting on the tree branches. And she's just talking to herself. This ghost. She's just sitting there. She's just talking to herself, minding her own business. But she looks troubled and stressed. All Second hears, though, is, I've been waiting. He can't hear anything else. And then when he says, you don't have to wait anymore, she realizes that he's there, but she can't see because she's blind. And then they have this beautiful kind of budding relationship where he goes out of his way every evening after he makes sure the campers are okay and everything's okay. He goes into the night and like doesn't get sleep in order to see her. And when he's with her, time stills for them, but time speeds up around them. So he doesn't know how long he's with her for, which makes it very challenging for him to go see her, especially if there's something that he needs to do with the campers very particularly, or if he has to be back for them because sometimes they notice that he's missing. He missed the entire water balloon fight because he was with her for 15 minutes. So he has to go through this delicate balance of taking care of her because he feels called to save her because after hearing Spark's ghost story, he realizes that she's living out her life before she died. And he feels like it's his responsibility to save her, but he has to choose between saving her and taking care of the 12 boys under his care. And he just feels like something bad is going to happen despite his choice. Hopefully that wasn't too spoilery, but read the book.
That was a really good explanation, but definitely more entail when you read the book.
Yes.
Right. Next question to have is that with Ghost Girl, like the design that you put in your artwork, and then from the artwork that is now placed, as you can see, what brought about the look of Ghost Girl and like her personality? Like where was that inspired from?
A lot of her feel and her personality, just like really her look, came from Merida from Brave. Merida was my favorite princess, and she was just, I don't know, just in my mind, when I thought of Ghost Girl, I saw Merida. And I actually have a pop Funko of her. You can't see it in these live streams, but you could, I did a thumbs up on that one. That was weird. Anyway, but you could see her here in my YouTube live stream. She's sitting on my bookshelf. But no, it's like Teams. It just happens randomly. Sorry, we got distracted by a Facebook feature. And Merida just has this kind of personality that I also wanted to challenge in a romance story. If you had a chance to change your fate, would you? Exactly. Exactly, Erin. and that was the challenge that I wanted to take. I wanted to see, like, could this Merida ghost girl kind of person, like, what charge would she take on her life? Would she be able to save herself? Did she actually need a man to save her? And that was kind of the twist, was that in this book, Ghost Girl is so vulnerable because, one, she's blind, she can't see, she doesn't understand the situation of her life that she's in right now. And she feels like she needs to rely on a man to save her. And sometimes his answers aren't as satisfactory. Something happens in the end of the book, which I'm not going to tell you, but you will understand her thoughts so much more when you read book 2. No spoilers. I'm not going to say anything. Sorry, Emma. Sorry, Erin. No spoilers. But it was really Merida from Brave that inspired her. And initially, while this story kind of started as a foreign me kind of fairy tale retelling, it blossomed into something totally different. Ghost Girl is her entirely own person. Second is his entirely own person. They became their own, like, beings in this story with their own personalities and struggles. While some of their pains were representative of ours, they have their own in that sense and just became, you know, as a writer does in Crazy Things, like, they became alive, you know, in that sense. I'm here for the spoilers. Emma, I remember in our pre-launch live together, I gave you, like, some spoilers. You probably don't remember their significance, but I could spoil it all day long for you, Emma, and Erin too. Erin knows, like, I've spoiled so much for her, especially in the beginning when I was writing it. But I don't know, maybe I'll drop another spoiler or two. I would love to someday read the first chapter of book 2. I do not, and I am mad. I know, we talked about so many spoilers. It was a long time ago. I mean, January was forever ago, which is wild.
In May now, so.
Which is wild that it was January that we did this Kickstarter, and then also delayed. I tried to put belated and delayed in the same word.
There you go, fully.
Delayed.
But delayed.
No, delayed.
Yes.
This is the delayed Kickstarter stretch goal. But yes, Erin, you do know all the secrets, and you'll hear more in our writing retreat next week for sure. But yeah, so that's how second in Ghost Girl, and it's a very, very, very slow burn. It is book 1 of a trilogy. Belay that Kickstarter. You're right. I'm gonna just belay. But it's book 1 of 3, book 1 of the Waiting trilogy. It does say on the front, in my defense, book 1 of the Waiting trilogy, plus 3 spinoffs. So I guess it's the Waiting series. It's called the Waiting series on Amazon because I kept in mind the spinoffs. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else to say without spoiling it.
I think that's all you can say.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet.
So, but without spoiling much more about Ghost Girl, because we can't really say anymore else, it's gonna, like, really spoil it. Sorry,
I know.
Emma, you can't hear more about
I'm
spoilers.
sorry.
So I think the next point to get to is what's next after May 14th? After, you know, your book is launched, you start selling more. What's next after She Whispered Through the Woods?
Well, book 2.
Well, obviously that.
2 of She Whispered Through the Woods in the Waiting trilogy. I am not going to say it, although if you have the book, it technically has the name of book 2. Don't show the people. Don't show the people. So it's like a little treat if you finish the book, or if you just decide to flip to the end, you could see the name of book 2, and that describes everything. That it just, like, it gives a whole look inside of what book 2 is going to be and how it's written. So from the way book 1 is written, it is, Emma has a lot of power.
Don't you dare, Emma.
She's like, I can spoil it. It's okay. Other people would forget too, I think, by the time it comes out. But book 2, so the trilogy is written in first person, and first person kind of epistolary, kind of like letters or diary entries. Book 1 is written as diary entries. Book 2 will be written as letters. It's all. It is Revenge of the Sixth. Oh, I love it. I love the space and Star Wars references. Emma, I'm gonna hit you up for when I start writing Bancroft's, like, space little romance that he's gonna get. because I need all of the space help. All of the space. But for a teaser of the letters that are going to be for book two's title, I have to actually look at it because there's a lot of repeat letters. I love alliteration, by the way, if you couldn't tell. And all of the titles, I already have all 3 titles picked out, and they all have some sort of alliteration. So She Whispered Through the Woods. This is, I almost said it, HLMTML. HLM, I'm going to type it out. HLMTML. Okay. I can't type it out there because it's too far. Sorry, Facebook. I feel bad because like the Facebook live stream is kind of like the forgotten child.
It's like the third wheel of like these two.
It is the third wheel.
Sorry, you are still here.
You're still here. Hold on, I'm gonna like do one of these where I could just like kind of show you the setup. So like there's the forgotten Facebook child all the way up there.
And all my Lego displays.
Ford's Lego. Yeah, so that's what's next. I am going to have several book tours, whether they be virtual or in person. I do have one virtual book tour booked. I'm going to have a launch party event on May 14th. So if anyone is in the Hudson Valley area, it will be in the hall of the St. Joe's Classical Academy at 6:30 p.m. It's a bit of a shorter event because I'm leaving for a writing retreat at 5 a.m. the next day. So we had to have it a little bit short, but there'll be campfire cupcakes, the opportunity to purchase books from me, games, and meet and greet, and a cute little photo op with a photo booth where you can print out photos and take them home. It's going to be a really great event. Yay, Erin, I'm so happy to have you there. And I almost didn't throw a launch party. I threw a launch party for my last release, which was The Underground, which is this red one up there on my top shelf, which was the finale of my trilogy.
That one that I'm intentionally poking at.
On Instagram. And I threw this really
on
really,
Facebook.
On Facebook, it's
right
over there. On YouTube, it's over here. But for The Underground, I threw a culmination of like the trilogy launch party, and it was a great event. It was very long and it was cold because it was raining outside because it was in 2020, so I couldn't have it indoors. So I had it outside in a park, but it was wonderful, but just not a lot of people could show up. So I kept this one a little bit shorter with some free food, free coffee, sticky buns, hopefully, if I'm able to make the recipe on the Monday night, and just a lot of good fellowship. And I'll have other opportunities. I hope to do a book tour for bookstores. I've reached out to several bookstores to see if their availability over the summer within the Hudson Valley and up and down the East Coast. I would love to travel too. Em, I wish you could get on a plane and come, but I'll also try and get on a plane and come to you. It would be so fun if we could do like I would love to collaborate with other authors in other states and do like multi-person book events. I think that would be super fun to do. But that's a dream for what's next. But really what's next is finishing the draft of HLMTM of book 2, because the draft is completed, but it became more of the trauma dump and not of the fun like book that it was supposed to be. So I need to go back and edit a lot of it, which I have done. I've done a lot of heavy editing, a lot of rewrites. It really needed more additions than rewrites because the dramatic storyline is still there. And once you read the prequel of the like what actually happened in the ghost story and then read this, you're going to be like what? The lore behind how the ghost thing works, I could literally talk about it for hours. I don't even know if Ford remembers all of it. But I don't even think I told you anything because I want you to read it. The lore of like how she's a ghost, why there's a ghost. Tell
Yeah, no, I think very briefly told me about it, but again.
And book 2 is her story in that sense. That's all I'll say. So it kind of feels like a prequel, but based off of feedback that I've previously gotten from readers, it will not end on the same cliffhanger that book 1 ended on. It'll have maybe a different cliffhanger, but a little bit more meat to the story. So I will be doing a bit of more continuation. Will Glover appear in book 2? Not 100% sure yet. Huerta, maybe, because he tends to weasel his way into anything. So he might be there, but I will let you know.
He gets his hands on caffeinated coffee.
Oh no. He would die. He would drop dead. If Huerta had caffeinated coffee, he would be dead. Or the world will explode. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to see what happens.
Maybe I'll just write a short story where Huerta drinks caffeinated coffee and then that's it. That's the end of the world and then the book is over and that's it. Because he would, I don't know, he would somehow find his way into Bancroft's like NASA engineer spaceship and maybe get himself into space. Maybe that's Huerta's connection in the space book is he sends himself to space. I think we're going a little too far-fetched, but
Yeah.
But it's writing, so I can do whatever I want. But yeah, so that would be next. For She Whispered Through the Woods, the Waiting trilogy would be finishing book 2. But the anticipation is to have a book 2 Kickstarter launched in early 2025 with a similar timeline of the May release. But that may shift depending on, life and how much I'm able to complete for He Loved Me Through. Ooh! I almost spoiled it!
Almost spoiled book 2.
Okay, I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop talking.
So I'll do a talking.
Curious George vibes. I love it.
So
Yes.
book 2 Kickstarter possible early 2025. You said.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? Yeah.
I think next is the Q&A.
Yeah.
So let's start with the question that Emma dropped in the little question box that I didn't realize. Will we get updates on the Cubs in the rest of the trilogy? So that answer is yes, but maybe not in book 2, dependent upon how the latter half of the story goes. I'm over here cackling. I'm glad you laughed because I'm chaotic. So you may not hear from the additional Cubs in book 2 because of book 2's nature of being a prequel and being her story. However, I have not finished the ending technically because of the rewrites that I'm going to do based off of early reader feedback. And who knows? Maybe they will be. So it's more of an open-ended question, but you'll definitely hear them in the finale of the trilogy. They will absolutely be there, be present, because these boys are very important to Second in his life, and you'll see in book 1 how important they become to him, especially at the end. How did you feel when the cliff broke? Was that when...
I think it's like the middle kind of part of the book.
Was that when he almost fell? Or is that like... I think that's what it means.
Isn't that where like... How do I say that?
Oh, wait. Or when the second time. Oh my gosh, the second time. I had to rewrite that scene a couple times because I'm like, can I do this? Can I put this in here? Would Second and Anderson be fired? I think they get to protect them. Yeah, so that was a very difficult scene, actually, because he needed to make that choice, and he chose them, which was really good. Even though he knew there was no real danger, he still chased after them. And I thought that was a really great character development on Second's part, because he had these, these feelings and these innate desires to take care of Ghost Girl. And in that moment, particularly, he chose the Cubs to protect them. And that was also a hard scene to write because not only was it like kind of emotional too, especially for him to see. I know it's hard not to spoil it, but we could talk about it. We could talk about it. It was really difficult to write in that sense because of the choice that he had to make. And that scene of them and that aggravation between the boys that with the cliff, and like in that moment, like realizing too that Glover like really, really needed help. And in that moment when they had that small healing, like piece of silence was super powerful. And I think for that part to write was the toughest part. The second part, the more kind of like researchy part, was I almost actually had a real wolf in there. And then I read, I'm like, you actually can't outrun a wolf, so all these boys would be dead. And no, but seriously, like in the amount of research that I also had to do for this book, even though it was like contemporary, I still had to understand the wildlife of the forest and
like
like
the Northeast.
of the creatures, and like, would there actually be a wolf there? Would it be a bobcat? Like, was it just? And it turns out making Huerta hallucinate was the easiest kind of solve for that whole thing. Well, I already said that there wasn't a wolf.
I know that.
I already said that there wasn't a wolf. He thinks there's a wolf. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah,
I'll stop.
It's just,
Stop.
I think the two people watching, I think I've read the book, but
Speaking of accountability, here's my accountability partner. I told him that I didn't want to spoil too much, so here he is trying to not make me spoil things.
So let's go on. Let's go on to the next question. Let's see. Okay. Let's go on to the next question. All right. What will we ever get more camp recipes? I think the main one's definitely the sticky bun recipe. What else?
The camp chili.
Camp chili.
With the fettuccine alfredo. I love a Southpaw recipe book. Do I dare write another book?
It'll be a pamphlet.
Be a pamphlet.
Like
Ooh,
5 things.
I love that though.
Breakfast soup. You mean cereal?
I know. No, the yam soup at the end.
I'm joking.
Oh,
Right.
haha, that's funny.
See, it took you a second.
No, the apple yam. Oh, I know. I wanted to try that so bad. Yeah. She's like, there's soup. You know what, Emma? For you,
I mean, she did just read it more recently than I did. I read it a while ago. So
you did,
it's been a while.
You also read it before I tweaked it based off of feedback.
That is true. I read like the first copy.
Yeah, you read one of the first drafts.
Sorry, Emma. I am taking it seriously.
So funny. Wait, I'm looking for. Where is it? Where is it? It's yams and apples, I think. Nope. Where's the timestamp? Breakfast soup. Yams and apples. Yep. You know what, Emma? I really, really want to write the cookbook or the pamphlet. I'll write the cookbook pamphlet and I'll dedicate it to you. That's what's going to happen. I'm like Parsley somehow. I know. I found that it's a real recipe. It is a real recipe that exists. It's called a breakfast soup. And it looked so good. So I need to find it. And hold on, I'm actually going to write this down. Because I'm going to forget. Because as you could tell from this live stream, my brain is so scattered. We also are podcasters, so you could tell how our podcasts sometimes go. With Aaron.
Yes.
Aaron keeps us grounded.
Really, I'm the one that keeps it.
Honestly, yeah. Aaron and I go on tangents.
See?
And David. David goes on tangents.
Yeah. Well, David also just starts laughing.
Apples
like
and
serious moment, and he just starts laughing. Just.
That's our For the Sake of Love podcast, which has two podcasts on deck that I have not finished editing yet. So thank you to all our listeners there. I've made it. That's the best. Ooh. You have made it before? I need to know. I need to know more. We'll talk. We gotta talk recipes, Emma. I need to know some more.
Okay. To our next questions that are not on.
Oh yeah, so
Instagram.
we actually had like a couple from the Kickstarter backers. So the first one would be, who is your favorite character and why?
You start first.
I start first. Okay.
You go first. I think it's more proper grammar.
Okay. I'm not an editor. I'm just a writer. Favorite character? I guess it depends. No, we've made it, like, succeeded. Oh, I see. I'm forcing him to make sticky buns eventually. Oh, I see. I see. Yes, you have made it. You definitely have succeeded, my dear. Yes, well, I'm going to send you all the recipes and you can ask your husband to make them because that's what needs to happen. My favorite character, I think outside of Second and Ghost Girl, can I say Huerta or is that like...
I think you gotta say Huerta.
I gotta... But I feel like I always say Huerta.
You do, but the thing is that you say Huerta a lot because he is your favorite character.
He is.
You do say him a lot.
But let me say, though, one of my favorite captains is Sparks. Captain Riley Sparks. His first name is Riley. That's not a spoiler. But he has such a particular quirk, and the fact that he's just always so forgetful, but yet one of the main things that he remembers is this riveting, dramatic ghost story retelling. And when you learn more about his character and like who he is and where he came from and what his family, you kind of have an even deeper respect for him and why he's so forgetful. And that's just like a little side thing that nobody but I guess the writer and those who've seen my draft notes would know, like why he was so significant in this story. Who's your favorite character?
Other than I feel like it's again like the same thing as you. I would have to say, main character, obviously second, I would have to say. Because again, it's like obviously you made him inspired from me, not to brag. But I think it's just cool because like more of the relatability with some things, and seeing his growth as a camp counselor and reflecting on how camp counseling has also made me grow too. Like there's that connection I have with second. But in regards to other characters, I feel like would also have to be, as you stated, Huerta, especially with your little drawings that you've done of Huerta, are just
I have
hilarious.
memes of Huerta.
So definitely those two, but I feel like main one would be second, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, second has a powerful character arc growth, and it's just really valuable to see him grow through that and who he grows with. The next question we got was from someone in the my broadcast channel. So, how much do you make selling just books per month?
We both looked up at the same time as we both know. Like,
So that's why I did Kickstarter, because I'm going to be completely honest, like being an author was never going to be a full-time gig for me. It was not something that I aspired to do full-time. This is a true passion project. Yes, it is a forbidden question, but I wanted to grace it with an answer, but by saying that everyone's success is measured differently, and my success for books that I sell per month is completely different than other initiate panic mode. It's true though. It is true, because especially indie authors who work full time, who are mothers who aren't really doing this, they're trying to make a profit off of it, but are maybe not trying to do it full time. And then there are some indie authors who are trying to do it full time. It really varies. It varies on the amount of not only work that you put into it, but expertise that you develop in your craft and then you put into it further. So I have a marketing background, and my experience is what for my full-time job, and that's what I'm putting most of my, expertise in and everything. But I have that knowledge to do this as well. But I also know that there are many areas that I could change and grow in order to increase my book sales and perhaps make a living off of. But that's not something I'm going to do. I'm going to do what needs to be done in order to basically break even with my stories and ensure that people who need these books, because I write books for people who need them in that sense. Every book has a message. Everything I write is important for some person, and that person will be better off for it when they read my book. I have had several individuals who have read my previous trilogy, The Isles, tell me that it got them out of a dark place. And I've had people who've shared my poetry stories with others and realized that it spoke to them in some way. So that's why I still write. So yeah, that forbidden question of how much do I make selling just books per month? Well, one that's kind of personal to an author, unless they're making a specific point. But it's also just a reminder, like, I'm here for community, and I'm here just because this is my passion project. I've met so many beautiful people through this, and Four has also been exposed to the book community. I mean, several of his reels have gone viral, and it's just been like a really fun experience. We just love doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, he loves being in my reels. I love making reels. I'm a content producer at heart. Oh, you love it. Oh no, I do. He loves it. He loves being in my reels.
I mean, I do get you more followers on your page. I'm joking.
It's okay. People like his content more than mine, but it's fine. But I definitely feel like I need a reminder to cherish the relationships with my students. And
I can attest to that too.
And that's why I did it.
As a fellow teacher.
And yes, Four is also a teacher as well. So he feels your pain, Emma. You guys are almost there at the end of the school year. Keep at it. But it's true. It was a story meant for broken people. It's a story meant for someone who thought that they weren't worthy of love, and then they found it, and then they did what they could to cherish it, but had to make a hard decision. And that's why I wrote it. And it was a story that I needed to write at the time. And book 2 as well, I didn't realize how much I needed book 2 until I wrote it. And that's why I need to go back and finish it, because it was more of a me expelling feelings and emotions that I had growing up or in a particular situation I was in. And it was very vulnerable for me to write that book. But now I have to go back and change it to I almost said her name. To Ghost
Wow.
Girl's book.
Wow, you gave me a hard time for almost saying it, which I didn't.
I almost said her name.
Well,
this is dangerous.
Moving on to the next point.
So the next one, we're gonna get rid of this one because I actually wrote this one. Why does it end on a cliffhanger? Because if it didn't,
yes,
very conscious blame is what you meant. Thank you, Emma. Thank you. Which you know her name. Emma knows her name. Why does the book end on a cliffhanger? Well, first of all, I apologize to my readers. Second of all, I love writing books with cliffhanger endings. And did I number the list? 1, 2, 3. Third is because the way that book 2 is supposed to end, I can't tell you.
She likes cliffhangers.
I love
the suspense and the anticipation for what's to come next.
And it feels like a New Girl ending. How about that? Let me just leave it at that because I am about to spoil so much. This is not good. We're also almost reaching time, which means the Instagram live stream is going to end.
So the next one and last question.
Last question. Have you actually made the sticky bun recipe? And is it good? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The sticky bun recipe is delicious. Like I said, I was surprised at how well I made it because I am not a baker. I was never a baker growing up. I could barely cook. I would mess up like instant mashed potatoes. I told you that story, right?
Yeah, you did.
There were 2 ingredients in instant mashed potatoes, and I forgot one, and it tasted like powder. It was a very traumatizing experience of my life. So I didn't cook for a while, and then I had to. During COVID, I actually started cooking more for my family to cook better meals. The Italian in me coming out. But I have made the sticky bun recipe. It is a lot of work, but it's kind of like, I like the analogy of like fostering relationships. It's like you have to work at it. You have to take it time, give it time, and then it becomes something so sweet. And I think that's the best part about the sticky buns is they're just so sweet. They're so good. And just, it's worth the wait. It is worth the wait, which is the whole theme of this book, which is why it's called the Waiting Trilogy. It's all worth the wait. Every relationship, every friendship, every situation in life, if you work hard at it, you take your time, every ending outcome is worth the wait. And you are worth waiting for, you are worth pushing through. And this is a piece of me, this is a piece of 4. And we're just so happy that you guys are here. And I'm even happier to say that this book releases on Tuesday, May 14th. And if anyone else has any other questions, we'll babble for a couple minutes for the 5-second delay to kind of catch up to it. But please drop any questions in the chat or in the little question box, which I had no idea existed.
No, you do.
I feel like a failure as a social media manager. I didn't know there was a little question box. Like, Emma, you have enlightened my soul to know that there's a little question box. And what is this? I'm afraid to click the send button. What does the airplane do? Does it send the live stream to other people and invite them? I think it invites other people to the live stream. Oh.
I was checking to see it, if I can see it, so I can.
Yeah, you can see it. Oh, you can send the request to join. That's so funny. But yeah. I think that's it for our Kickstarter backer live stream. Hopefully our Kickstarter backers enjoyed it. And if you're not a Kickstarter backer, you just hopped on because we were live. I wanted to open it up to everybody because a lot of people couldn't make it due to the time zone change or the time zone difference. And of course the time of day, and it's a Monday. Welcome back, Emma. I was just saying that if anyone had any last questions, but that's the end of our live stream, just to promote. Oh, I just poked you.
You poked my chin.
Yeah, so if you have any other questions, Emma, I also want to spoil everything for you, but maybe not on the live stream.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. But I will be having a beta reader call, hopefully at the end of this month, if everything goes well next week with my writing retreat and the way that no questions, just happy to be here. So proud of you. Well, thank you, Emma, for all of your questions as well. I'm proud of you as well for everything that you're doing. For those of you who don't know, Emma Hill is another contemporary romance author with a little sparkle of magical fantasy. And she also writes books with themes of mental health. So perfect for May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. Her and I bonded over our stories, and now we are awesome book friends, and she's amazing. And I'm just so happy for her to be here. And I'm happy for all of you to be here too. So final thoughts, and
That's it.
I think that's it. Awesome. Thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you at our book launch event on May 14th. I will hopefully have a live stream just running randomly so you can kind of see and get a feel for the book launch. I'll pop on and say hello, but if not, I hope you have a great evening, and see you next time. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
On this one.
All of the live streams to end. Oh, I got a comment on here. Loved the story. Thank you.
Stripe have post for 30 days.
I'm so sorry, Patient Pink Panther. I had no idea that you were there. Clearly, I don't know how to use StreamYard, but I am so grateful that you were here.
Should I just post it for 30 days?
Yes.
Cool.